shining. There's never any owies.
Wow, and hearing you say that and talking about not the God of the Bible, that is, I've experienced that myself growing up in the church and realizing that I created a God that wasn't even the God of the Bible. I created a Jesus.
Whoa, look out.
Of the scriptures,
Yep, Second Corinthians chapter 1. We had the sentence of death on us. But by the way, the God of hope was with us and carried us through. Carried us through what? Sweetness and light every day? Or persecution and struggle and hardship and pain and rejection. So, I mean, this is, God, the God of the Bible is a real God. He's honest, and he tells all the truth and brutal stories in both testaments.
Yeah, exactly. And it is amazing when you stop and read it, that you become actually surprised if you just read it just to find out what it says instead of assuming that life is supposed to be the way you just explained it. Very encouraging thought you have, Glenn. We can just tell your passion and your heart for Christ and your heart for telling the truth, and we definitely appreciate that here. I have also a personal question. We have a couple questions left for you, just so you know, but I have a personal question just for me as a guitarist. We had Rex Carroll on the show a couple months ago, and he mentioned about you playing the cigar box guitar. And I saw you on your Twitter account. I saw you holding up one recently and saying that you made it and now you got to play it. So from a guitarist perspective, I'm kind of intrigued by that. What was it that got you into that, and how does one get into that?
Well, I mean, there's so many levels to this. The simple truth is, long before I came to know the Lord, I had studied so much of the blues sort of heritage of poor African American folks in slavery and right after emancipation, so to speak, in the South. And often they would take a piece of broom wire, the wire that held the straw together on brooms, and then you got stretched it out straight. Now you've got as it were, a guitar string, and so they would then put that on, say, a hunk of hickory, and stick it in a wooden bowl, or you could hollow out a piece of a log, burn and cut, or a cigar box. As eventually they started to sell cigars, cheap cigars in these little boxes, whatever. Even before that, they would take, and after that, they would take big what are called 10-penny nails and pound one toward the bottom of the side of a house or out in a porch, a few inches above the ground, and then up about as high as they could reach, pound another one in just straight. Halfway out on that nail, wrap that wire. Wrap it around the top tight, and then wrap it around the bottom and pull it as tight as possible. Now you got a note. You go up and down with a spoon or a bottle or a piece of glass, and you twang that baby or beat on it with a stick, and you change the melody, the note, by moving something up and down for a slide on that one string. And that's the origin of what was called the diddley bow, which is, by the way, where the blues guy and early rocker Bo Diddley took his stage name. He just inverted it. So the diddley bow is a one-stringer. I've been building 3-string and 2-string and 1-string and every now and then a 6er or 4-stringer for years and years. And I knew about them. And years ago when we did Cornerstone Festival, our fellowship, Jesus People, I'd go by one of the outbuildings on the property there and see this stick of hickory. And I thought after about 2 years of that, I stopped one day, picked the thing up and looked at it. I thought if I put a little sandpaper on there, drill a couple of holes, I can put a string on there. And I had gotten a little metal cookie tin from a yard sale for like 10 cents. My wife and I and a lot of us would bop around on the weekend to yard sales in little towns in western Illinois. Anyway, really cool little metal box. I thought if I cut that thing open and stuck that thing through and then screwed it tight and put a string on it, it would be a fake dobro. It would sound like a metal guitar, where they're called dobros, which I actually have a dobro. So I did, I put 4 strings on it, and I felt like I was cheating. I was too close to 6, so I took that off, and then I had a 3-stringer. I still have it. In fact, I brought it out and played it 2 days ago. And I put a pickup in it as well, a little piezo pickup, little flat pickup. That's a whole other discussion. And started playing it every now and then live, and people freaked out. I do solo blues sets, and bring these junker guitars out that I build out of. I built one the other day out of a Listerine bottle, plastic Listerine, mouthwash bottle, and had an old broom handle that had been tossed out. So I snatched it out of a dumpster. I knew there wasn't any bed bugs down there, so that's one of our dumpsters here. So I sanded that and stuck it in there and put a string on it and did a song and put the song up on my YouTube channel. So, what's interesting is I don't do it as a gimmick. I did it because it forced me to go into deeper blues because I can't cheat. I don't have 6 strings anymore. And I've been playing 6-string guitar and slide guitar and different tunings, finger style and acoustic and dobro and, electric, blah, 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 for all my life, But this was probably, 18, 20 years ago when I built the first one. And now I have about, 40 of them all around my office, hanging up on the walls. And I've got 5 or 6 different kinds. I build little prototypes. And Gurr Records sells our little in-house record label sells a prototype. I actually came up with a couple of designs, and so for me, it's either 3 or usually 3 or a 1-stringer, and it's almost always just playing with a slide of some sort, piece of bottle or store-bought glass or whatever slide. And I've made slides out of all kinds of stuff. Sometimes I use empty I love hot sauce, so I'll take an old hot sauce bottle. And what's cool is it draws people in, and it's an object lesson. I do a lot in prisons and jails. And when I bring in a diddly bow along or a 3-stringer or a couple of those along with an acoustic guitar or whatever, and I pull that thing out and do a song, there's not a person in the audience that isn't focused on it. And if it's not a jail or prison, they whip out the cell phone, and then I end up having a conversation with musicians that otherwise probably wouldn't even bother to walk up and talk to me. And so I'm able to be a little salt and light, a little bit. I'm an evangelist. I'm a pastor, but at core I'm an evangelist. So the beauty of that gift and call and the love, but it was a challenge to get into deeper blues because the fewer strings and even all the way down to something that's just acoustic without any kind of pickup on it at all, it forces me to think differently. I end up getting inspired by it, so I end up writing songs that I otherwise probably would have never written. And we don't have time to dissect this, but the style in which I approach writing a blues tune on a single string diddly bow made out of junk, it's a whole different approach. And there's an inspiration factor.
Wow.
So for me, it's obviously therapy, it's fun, it's artistic, but it also, when I stand up in a jail or a prison and say, dude, look, y'all, it ain't what you got, it's what you do with it.
Wow.
Well, they're seeing it. It's right in front of them. The object lesson, you can't miss it. It's right there. Mm-hmm. So there's so many sides to that. And, I've done workshops all over the world. People building, I tutor them in building cigar box and found object, essentially 1, 2, or 3-string slide guitars. And it's just a blast to see what happens, whether they're an old grandma, grandpa, or, 8, 10-year-old kid with their mom or dad, or, cousins coming to a church or a municipal hall or even a library. I've done it all over the place. So, wow. Yeah, who knew, right? But God did. So I think He just put it in my heart.
Yeah, well, that's great, and just the way you just naturally are able to use that for evangelism, I I think is incredible. So from a guitarist perspective, just piquing my curiosity here, just a couple quick questions regarding that. You know, you were talking about getting deeper into the blues, and I've looked at some of what you're talking about where they would use anything that they had to make those. When you do yours, is it real steel guitar strings you're using, or are you using things that they used back then? And then the second question would be if there's any if anybody's interested in that, is there a place, website, or anything you could point our listeners to that might be interested in how building a cigar box guitar would work?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, there are thousands of people all over the world building these things now. And a good buddy, a friend of mine named Shane Spiel, started a site years ago called cigarboxnation.com, cigarboxnation, one word, .com. Trust me, there's more up there than you'll ever want to know. And all sorts of patterns and descriptions and a whole lot of nice people who will help. And there's so many files. You can go in the search mode and just simply type in how to build a 3-string guitar or a diddley bow, or how to make a pickup, create a guitar pickup. I mean, it's ridiculous. There are multiple thousands of photos. And I'm up there too. I post, every other week or something, I post something. And I also post clips and links to my YouTube channel, my personal YouTube channel. And Shane Spiel is up in YouTube. He's got a couple of his own sites. Like myself, he's in Facebook, he's in Twitter, he's definitely at cigarboxnation.com. And there was another, strings. I usually use normal, everyday guitar strings. Sometimes I use wound strings. I prefer, no matter what I'm doing when I'm building one of these, I prefer acoustic guitar strings, but sometimes I don't have any around that I want to use. I have a nice set of elixirs or something that I'd rather use on one of my 6-string acoustics. I have a couple of really nice, one that a luthier friend made for me, and one's a really beautiful Taylor. So I don't always want to use my acoustic strings if I only have a few sets around on these. So I'll throw an electric string on now and then. Sometimes I use a wound or a combination of wound strings and plain unwound acoustic strings. Occasionally I'll put a bass string on the bottom, one of the 4 bass strings, and 1 or 2 guitar strings up top. There's so many ways to do it. But, yeah, I've actually used wire. I have various gauge wire. A dear friend of mine, who I don't get to see very often, named One String Willie. He has a site. I think it's onestringwillie.net. But you can Google for One String Willie. Willie is Willie. He is pretty much the king of the diddley bow and has written some amazing songs. He also loves the Lord. And brilliant man. I could go on for days about Willie. I got to be his biggest fan. So there's all kinds of people that use various gauge wire that is not, they're not actual guitar strings. By the way, I also have been messing around with retuning a little 4-string ukulele that somebody gave me. And blues uke is a whole different, and slide, when you tune it to an open chord, that's a whole other world, playing slide on nylon ukulele strings. So I just built a 1-string diddley bow, that's up there in my YouTube channel as well, with a detergent bottle from Sam's Club that we'd emptied it out. So I cleaned it out and I stuck a broom handle in there and one black ukulele string, and played slide, nothing but slide on it. And what can I tell you, man? Look, the longer I live, the more creative and more fun I'm having. And the beauty of this is that it's an opportunity to say, hey, y'all, forget about people thinking you're an idiot. Stretch out. Go for it. I mean, what do you got to lose? A little pride? You didn't need that pride anyway. You know, we need a lot more humility, and we need to be willing to step outside the box a little and